No one knows that the most popular guy at State University and I were best friends back in high school. After I confessed my feelings to Vincent, he ran for the hills. From then on, we were strangers. During a crosstown basketball tournament, I asked another guy for his number right in front of him. He finally snapped, confronting me with a hurt look in his eyes. "John, does he treat you better than I do?" This afternoon was the big game between our school and the State University basketball team. The place was packed with hot guys, a real treat for the eyes. The gym was overflowing. I had just found a seat. Suddenly, the energy in the stadium surged, and I heard people shouting Vincent's name. I looked up. On the court, Vincent, already in his jersey, was warming up. Broad shoulders, a narrow waist, long legs, his muscles were perfectly defined. My mind went blank for a second. Wasn't he supposed to sit this game out? My roommate, Danny, sitting next to me, was practically vibrating with excitement. "Vincent! It's Vincent!" The whistle blew, the game started, and the screams were loud enough to tear the roof off. On the court, Vincent was agile and powerful, running, jumping, shooting. He was dazzling, capturing the attention of the entire stadium. The image overlapped with the one in my memory. Even back then, Vincent was an incredible basketball player. He was always popular. Wherever he went, a crowd followed. I was the opposite, gloomy and isolated. High school is not a good memory for me. Kevin led the charge in bullying and isolating me. Everyone saw it, but they just got used to it. Only Vincent was different. He had just transferred in during our junior year. He didn't know about my situation yet when he was assigned to be my desk mate. When he tried to be friendly, I was cold, pushing him away. I had long since told myself I didn't need friends. Vincent didn't care. He kept trying to talk to me, patient and good-natured every time. He tapped a math problem on my test paper, marked with a red X. "John, do you know how to solve this one?" He looked so pitiful with his brow furrowed in frustration. I thought for a moment, then scribbled the solution on a piece of scratch paper and pushed it toward him. After Vincent looked at it, his eyes crinkled into a smile, little specks of light dancing in them. "Wow, John, you're a genius." I looked down, flustered, feeling for a split second like I'd been burned by the light. After the first time, there was a second and then countless more. Wrong test questions became our only way of communicating. I gradually started to look forward to him talking to me, but that wasn't right. When Kevin heard I had a new desk mate and that we were getting along, he couldn't stand it. He and his cronies were waiting for me in the alley I always took home from school. Seeing him, my nerves tensed on instinct, and the old wounds on my body began to ache. Kevin asked nonchalantly, "Heard you got a new desk mate. How's that going?" I didn't say anything. He walked up to me, annoyed by my silence, and started slapping my face. Then he sneered, "You little murderer. I fucking asked you a question. How can the son of a murderer have any friends?" After a few slaps, my face was stinging, bringing back some bad memories. I regretted ever talking to Vincent, because nothing good ever happened to people who got involved with me. The suffocating atmosphere was unexpectedly broken by an intruder. Vincent glanced at Kevin and his friends, then walked right over to me and put a notebook in my backpack. "Want to walk home together?" he asked. I looked down and, in a panic, gave him a shove. "No, just go." Kevin laughed cruelly and blocked Vincent's path. "Hey, don't go. Let's all have a chat." The others looked on, eager for a show. Kevin deliberately asked Vincent, "Do you know his story?" Vincent's expression was calm. "I've heard things." I clenched my fists. Kevin took a drag from his cigarette and grinned. "It's pretty bad luck being desk mates with the son of a murderer." Vincent frowned. "The mistakes his parents made have nothing to do with him." Kevin's face darkened, his anger simmering. He forced a smile. "Ha! Nothing to do with him? Do you know his mom was a shameless widow who went around seducing men and wrecking families? Not only that, she even killed someone. Shouldn't he have to pay for his mother's sins?" I shot my head up and glared at Kevin, refuting him word by word. "My mom did not seduce your dad." My words were like a lit match, instantly igniting Kevin's fury. He punched me in the gut and raged. "Say that again, you motherfucker." I clutched my stomach, dry heaving in pain, but repeated myself in a hoarse voice. On this matter, as long as I was alive, I would not yield an inch. My mom was innocent. The truth had been maliciously twisted and spread. The rumors became sharp knives that sliced my mother to death. A victim acting in self-defense was turned into a murderer. A rapist was turned into an innocent victim. She was just protecting herself. She could have survived. Vincent grabbed Kevin's fist. Kevin glared at him viciously. "Get out of the way, or I'll beat the shit out of you." 2. I yelled at Vincent, "Go. This has nothing to do with you." He didn't move. "It does. He's bullying my desk mate." I froze. Kevin must have lost it, his eyes bloodshot as he stared at Vincent. He was used to getting his way at school, throwing his family's weight around. No one ever dared to challenge him. He sneered at Vincent. "Let's see how tough you really are." Then a flurry of fists and feet came at us. As it turned out, Vincent was pretty damn tough. We were both lying on the ground, but he still had the energy to shout at Kevin's retreating back. "So, am I tough enough for you?" I struggled to sit up and slapped a hand over his mouth, terrified Kevin and his buddies would hear and come back to finish the job. Vincent sucked in a sharp breath of air. I sheepishly pulled my hand back. "Sorry. Have they always bullied you like this? Why don't you go to the teachers or the police?" I had a long time ago, but their response was always the same. They'd put on a show and then try to smooth things over. It was as if I was the one being unreasonable and causing trouble. After that, Kevin looked down at me and sneered, "It's useless, you little murderer." So I stopped trying. The whole world was on his side. I didn't want to answer, so I changed the subject. Wincing in pain, I turned my head and asked him, "Are we really close enough for you to get beat up for me?" We are now. Under the dim yellow streetlights, our two shadows leaned against each other, stretched long. Vincent grimaced. "This is the worst beating I've ever taken in my life." "Then why'd you play the hero? What kind of man just stands by and does nothing?" Vincent mumbled. This man was currently black and blue, a sight both pitiful and hilarious. I couldn't help but smile. He smiled back. Vincent insisted on seeing his good deed through to the end, walking me all the way to my apartment building. I hesitated for a moment, then said, "Do you want to come up so I can patch you up?" He followed me upstairs. In the cramped hallway, the door and walls were splashed with red paint, with words like "murderer" and "a life for a life" scrawled across them. His eyes widened slightly as he took it all in. I tried to sound casual. "Pretty scary, right?" Vincent just shook his head gently. I opened the door and gestured for him to come inside. The furniture had been smashed several times and was in shambles. Vincent sat on a creaky chair, his lips pressed together, silent. I disinfected and bandaged his cuts. Before he left, Vincent asked me, "Can we walk home together tomorrow after school?" My heart skipped a beat. Getting addicted to playing the hero? Vincent smiled. "Yep. The truth is, I could handle it on my own. I didn't need pity, and I certainly wasn't hoping for someone to save me from my hell." When the final bell rang, Vincent politely turned down offers from other people, announcing with a broad smile, "From now on, John and I are walking home together." I stopped writing and stared at him, a swelling feeling in my chest. Vincent turned back and saw me looking. "You done?" I shook my head. "You don't have to wait for me. You can go ahead." Vincent waved it off. "It's fine, I'll wait." He was so patient. I finally gave in and resignedly packed my books. We walked together through the long alley and reached my building. He followed me upstairs. I asked, amused, "A hero doesn't have to go this far, does he?" Vincent grinned. "Yes, he does." He stopped at my door and pulled a can of spray paint from his bulging backpack. He started spraying over the blood-red murderer painted on the wall. I just stared at him, stunned. He pushed a can into my hand, his eyes crinkling. Together, his backpack was full of spray paint, all different colors. I looked at the brilliant colors on the wall, just like Vincent himself, who had forcefully burst into my gray life. Vincent always knew how to make me lower my guard. Time and again, he made me break my own rules, letting him get closer. I got used to having him around, used to his company. So when I heard someone say that Sarah was confessing her feelings to him, I unconsciously followed. Under a tall sycamore tree, Sarah stood in front of Vincent, her cheeks flushed. A handsome guy and a beautiful girl. The sight was jarring to me, and a restless anxiety urged me to go over and break them apart. I clenched my fists, took a breath, and turned to leave amid the cheers of the onlookers. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my collar, yanking me off balance. I looked up and, after a few seconds of stunned recognition, glanced over at Vincent in the distance. I smirked and said, "Long time no see." Kevin had vanished for a while after our last encounter. I later found out that the school, which had always turned a blind eye to his behavior, had ordered him to take a leave of absence the day after they learned Vincent had been bullied. Such swift action was a courtesy I had never been afforded. Stung, Kevin threw a punch at me. I didn't dodge. The people around us gasped and scattered. He muttered darkly, "You're pretty pleased with yourself, aren't you?" I pressed my tongue against my numb cheek, glanced again in Vincent's direction, and gave Kevin a provocative little smile. Not enough. It still wasn't enough. Kevin's eyes were red with fury. No one dared to step in. Lying on the ground, I squinted and saw someone step in front of me, tall and straight, like a wall protecting me from the wind and rain. It was a despicable thing to do. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't help feeling happy and satisfied. Vincent picked me up piggyback style and started walking, complaining irritably, "Why didn't you call me when Kevin was hitting you? Why did you just stand there and let him beat you up?" I tightened my arms around his neck, nestled against his back, and answered softly, "Weren't you busy with Sarah confessing to you?" Vincent stopped walking. A wave of panic hit me. I tried to sound casual as I asked, "Did you say yes to her?" I felt like a drowning person, terrified the driftwood I was clinging to would be snatched away at any moment. He asked, amused, "What do you think?" "No." I turned my head away and answered against my will, "I don't know." Sarah was a great girl, pretty, pure, an excellent student. She had a gentle personality and a soft way of speaking. A lot of guys had crushes on her. She was a good match for Vincent. They would date, get into their dream colleges together, get married, and have kids. I pressed a hand to my chest, where a relentless, aching sourness was spreading. Vincent saw me as he came back with the medicine. "Is your chest bothering you?" he asked with concern. I nodded weakly. The thought of them becoming a couple made my heart feel like it was splitting apart. It wasn't normal. Vincent frowned. "I'll get you excused from class. We're going to the hospital." At the hospital, he never left my side, from registration to the doctor's appointment. The results came back. My heart was fine, healthy, and strong. I was just a little run down. On the way back, Vincent reminded me, "Don't ignore it. If your chest hurts again, we'll go back to the doctor." I figured out why my chest hurt before it happened again. It was because of a dream. In the dream, someone held me, their lips meeting mine in a soft, lingering kiss. When I saw the person's face, I woke with a start, drenched in sweat, my heart pounding in panic. The reason was that I was in love with Vincent. I didn't know how to face him, how to face this twisted, abnormal feeling. Instinctively, I retreated back into my hard shell, avoiding him. I naively thought that if I just kept my distance, the feeling would disappear. At first, it withered and whimpered. But then, desperate for his presence, it came roaring back, growing wilder than before. On the way home, Vincent asked me, "Has Kevin been secretly bothering you again?" I shook my head. Kevin hadn't bothered me for a long time. Well, he had, but it was just harmless verbal insults. "Then why have you been acting so weird lately?" he asked. "Are you hiding something from me?" My heart skipped a beat. I looked away, flustered, and denied it. Vincent saw right through me. He put an arm around my shoulders and turned my face toward him. "Out with it. Confession is good for the soul." Struggled against his arm, yelling in a panic, "Let me go." He tightened his grip, annoyed, practically throwing his whole body against me to hold me in place. Too close. I held my breath, terrified he would hear my frantic, pounding heart. My face flushed red. "Vincent, let go of me," I shouted. While he was stunned, I quickly broke free and pushed him away. I was breathing heavily. Vincent looked at me, bewildered, not expecting such a strong reaction. His voice was a little dejected. "Fine, I won't ask. I don't like people touching me," I blurted out. I regretted it the second I said it. As I expected, his expression was hurt. Before I could explain, he forced a smile. "You're home. Go on up." It was the first time he didn't walk me upstairs, just to the entrance of the building. I watched his retreating figure, my fists clenched, then turned and went inside. After that, the relationship between Vincent and me became delicate. It wasn't quite the silent treatment. We just didn't talk much. But he still walked me home every day. I thought about apologizing, telling him that I didn't hate his touch, that I actually liked it, but I was afraid he'd discover the feelings I was hiding. I'd rather he misunderstand. At least then, we were still friends. At the front of the classroom, our teacher announced the dates for winter break. The class erupted in excitement. I silently counted the days. 22. For the next 22 days, I wouldn't see Vincent. The week before New Year's Eve, I found a skinny little calico cat downstairs. Her belly was flat, and she trotted right up to me, begging for food with a pitiful look. I went to a nearby convenience store, bought a pack of sausages, and fed them to her. Then I asked if she wanted to come home with me. She tilted her head, as if she understood, and followed me upstairs with her tail held high. I named her Eve, took a bunch of photos, and after carefully selecting the best ones, sent them to Vincent. I told him I had a cat now. Vincent didn't reply. I knew he was busy during winter break and didn't have time to look at his phone, but I wanted to share it with him, to fight for some small sense of existence in his world. Once winter break started, he disappeared from my life. I was back to how I was before. When I missed him, I'd scroll through his social feed. Sometimes I'd do it many times a day. Several times, I typed out a message in the chat box, only to delete it word by word. Compared to the vibrant photo dumps on his feed, my conversation starters seemed dull and uninteresting. Eve became my only viable excuse to reach out. I waited patiently for his reply. That night, Vincent video called me, mumbling that he wanted to see Eve. He even called her a beautiful calico princess. I laughed and aimed the camera at Eve, who was snoozing peacefully. Vincent was so envious. He looked like he wanted to reach through the screen and pet her. We talked for a long time. The call only ended because something came up. On his end. With Eve around, I wasn't lonely. Vincent called every few days to see the cat. Compared to the lively atmosphere on his side, mine was exceptionally quiet. I heard him ask, "It's New Year's Eve today. Want to stay up for the countdown together tonight?" That's when I realized what day it was. I smiled and agreed. I couldn't remember how I spent last New Year's Eve, but this year I had Eve and Vincent. That night, I held Eve and watched the New Year's Eve specials on TV while waiting for Vincent's video call. I heard a noise outside, and then the old lock on my door burst apart. Kevin and his cronies barged in. They reeked of alcohol. He grabbed me violently and threw me to the ground. My head slammed against the leg of a table. My vision went dark, and I felt something warm trickle down my face. Eve let out a sharp cry. Kevin kicked her away. He glanced at the scratch on the back of his hand and snarled, "Damn little animal." I grabbed his pant leg. He stomped on my hand, then grabbed my hair. "Where's Vincent?" he sneered. "Why isn't he here to save you?" Suddenly, I remembered how I spent last New Year's Eve. Kevin's dad had died on New Year's Eve, which made this day harder to bear than any other. But this time was different. He didn't just hit me, he started tearing at my clothes. "You're a shameless whore just like your mother," he spat, his words vile. "Going around seducing guys. I heard you used your ass to get Vincent's attention. No wonder he protects you." One of his buddies held up a phone, pointed it at my face, and laughed. "Damn, Kevin, he's got really pale skin." He straddled me, licking his lips excitedly. "I've never had a taste of a guy before. Get off me. Don't touch me." A large hand clamped over the lower half of my face. The lack of oxygen made me dizzy, my vision turning black. I couldn't struggle anymore. I was like a dying fish on a cutting board. On the floor, my phone buzzed restlessly. Suddenly, the weight on me was gone. I gasped for air, dazed. Outside, fireworks exploded, covering the chaotic noise in the room. A long time later, someone reached a hand out to me. It was Vincent. His face was bloody and bruised. He gently fixed my clothes and wiped the blood from my face. "What are you doing back?" I asked. "I promised I'd stay up with you for the countdown," Vincent said. I smiled, and a tear I couldn't hold back rolled down my cheek. My whole body started to shake. After that night, Kevin and his friends never came back to school. They completely disappeared. Eve was badly injured. Her front leg was broken. She now walks with a pitiful little limp. Vincent doted on her like she was his own child, buying cat food, canned food, and treats by the case. In just a dozen days, Eve became visibly round and plump, her fur glossy and smooth. He also bought a new sofa, since he had destroyed my only chair on New Year's Eve. Kevin's family never pressed charges for the fight, probably because the two sides reached a private settlement. With Kevin and his gang gone, the second semester of our senior year gradually got better. On graduation day, I learned that Vincent had rejected Sarah's confession on the basketball court, using the excuse that he needed to focus on his studies. At the party, Sarah, emboldened by alcohol, asked him, "Now that we've graduated, do I have another chance?" The people around us started hooting and hollering. I stared at Vincent, my nerves on edge. Vincent laughed and threw his hands up in surrender. "Give me a break, Sarah." Sarah wasn't offended. She just winked and raised her glass to him. Vincent downed his drink in one go. The group erupted in laughter. The atmosphere relaxed. I let out a sigh of relief. Vincent was a lightweight. After the party wound down, he leaned in close, his eyes glazed over. "I'll walk you home." I shook my head, telling him he didn't have to. He frowned, disapproving. "What if someone bullies you when I'm not around?" I froze for a few seconds, wanting to tell him that no one would bully me anymore. But I didn't. I just said, "Okay, you can walk me." Vincent put an arm around my shoulders and led me forward. After a few steps, he belatedly let go, muttering to himself, "Almost forgot you don't like people touching you." His tone held an unconscious hint of grievance. I grabbed his arm, turned to look at him, and said softly, "You're not people. You can." Back then, I was too scared. I was scared that if he got too close, he would hear my racing heart. But now it didn't matter. I leaned into his arm and silently pleaded in my head, "Vincent, just pity me a little more. A little bit more." When we got home, Vincent immediately went to play with Eve. Smelling the alcohol on him, Eve turned her nose up, sneezed, and ran away. Vincent tried to tempt her with a treat stick. I followed a recipe online and made a not-so-successful sober-up soup. When I brought it out, Vincent had fallen asleep on the sofa with Eve curled up on his lap. The boy and his cat. I went closer and called his name a few times, but there was no response. The room was quiet. I looked down at him. The alcohol must have hit him hard. On a devilish impulse, I leaned down and touched his lips. They were soft. A secret desire inside me was soothed. Vincent's eyes slowly opened. My brain exploded with a whoosh, completely blank. How did I fall asleep? Vincent's expression was one of undisguised shock. He tried to act calm and quickly stood up, but he stumbled over Eve. I reached out to steady him, but he dodged my hand. I pulled my hand back and clenched it into a fist, a bleak smile on my face. "Sorry for liking you without your permission. It's disgusting, right?" Vincent froze, looking at me at a loss. He stammered, "John, I'm not into guys. I know. I just wanted to tell you. I should go." Vincent looked almost pathetic as he fled. Actually, I had never planned on telling him. This feeling should have been buried in my heart forever. But he was just too good, and I couldn't bear the thought of letting someone so good go to someone else. The moment I said it, I was making a bet. I was betting that Vincent wouldn't be able to let me go, that I was special. But I lost everything. After that night, Vincent and I tacitly cut off all contact. I was smart enough not to bother him, afraid of disgusting him or making him uncomfortable. Until today, when I saw him on the basketball court. On the court, a team in blue jerseys and a team in black jerseys were locked in a fierce battle. Honestly, I wasn't a huge basketball fan, but Vincent loved it. A beautiful jump shot. Vincent pulled up his jersey to wipe away his sweat, revealing a set of well-defined abs that sent a wave of screams through the girls in the stands. My roommate Danny grabbed my arm, screaming along with them in excitement, Vincent!" I sucked in a breath of cool air and reminded him we go to city you, a traitor in our midst. Danny giggled and defended himself. "It's not my fault Vincent's so hot." He lowered his voice. "Did you see his abs? A full 8-pack. I tugged his sleeve. "Keep it down," I whispered. "You straight guys don't get it," Danny whispered back. "He's a total dreamboat. It's unfairly attractive." I gently reminded him he's probably not into guys. "That's fine. I'm just appreciating his looks from a distance. He's a god, meant to be admired from afar." The game ended with State University winning. As the noisy crowd began to disperse, Danny showed no signs of leaving. He tugged on my sleeve, motioned toward a guy in a black jersey on the court, and shyly handed me his phone. "John, help me." A classic case of being all talk and no action. The guy was from State U, which meant Vincent was right there with them. "John, please." Steeling myself, I took the phone as Danny's face lit up with a grin. I took a deep breath, walked straight up to the guy without looking at anyone else, and said, "Excuse me, my roommate was hoping to ask you some questions about computer software. Would it be okay to add you on WhatsApp?" The guy's eyes widened. He pointed at himself uncertainly. "Me? Are you sure you don't want Vincent's contact?" I nodded and repeated, "Is it okay?" I felt a familiar gaze on me, and my heart began to pound. The guy snapped out of it, his face flushing red as he fumbled for his phone. Yeah, of course." I heard the ding of a successful connection. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief and thanked him politely. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Vincent staring at me, his face expressionless. I walked away quickly, hearing their teammates start to tease the guy. Danny threw himself at me excitedly. "John, I love you." I dodged him. "Hope it works out for you." After a thought, I added, "But he seems pretty straight." Danny clutched his phone and mumbled, "Don't worry. My gaydar tells me he's definitely not." I didn't pursue the topic. Over the next few days, Danny and the guy were inseparable from their phones, chatting up a storm. I chuckled and opened my messaging app, surprised to find a message from Vincent. "Vincent, here are some books you should check out. If you have any questions, you can ask me." I stared at it, stunned. We hadn't spoken in 6 months, and the first thing he does is send me a list of books on computer software. I typed back, confused. "Did you send this to the wrong person?" The typing indicator appeared on his end. A long time passed, but no message came. Disappointed, I closed the app. He probably did send it by mistake. Danny called out to me, his face glowing with excitement. "John, want to go hiking for the long weekend?"
Sam invited me.
It's a 3-day, 2-night trip. I shook my head and declined with a smile. "No thanks, I don't want to be a third wheel." Danny hopped off his bed, grabbed my arm, and pleaded, "It's not just me and him. Other people are going too. Come on, John. Please. I'll be nervous and scared if I go alone." I made an excuse. "I'm not feeling well." Hearing that, Danny's expression turned worried. "You do look a little pale. What's wrong? Maybe I shouldn't go tomorrow and take you to the hospital instead?" "No, it's fine. I just need to rest in the dorm." As it turns out, lying has consequences. The next day, Danny was still worried. "John, I should probably stay and take care of you. It's a big group. They won't miss me." I gave him a weak smile and urged him on. "It's just a cold. I'll be fine on my own." Danny left, looking back every 3 steps and reminding me again and again, "Call me if you need anything." After seeing him off, the dorm room was empty. My other 2 roommates had already gone home for the break. I lay in bed, feeling awful, my mind hazy. I vaguely heard someone calling my name. Something was put in my mouth. The bitter taste was a shock to my system. It forced my eyes open. The second I saw Vincent, my eyes welled up. "Vincent," I whispered. I must be delirious with fever to be seeing him. Vincent just showed me his back. I was heartbroken. Tears started to fall. Even in my dreams, he wanted nothing to do with me. But then the retreating figure of Vincent turned around and came back. He reached out and wiped away my tears. "Why are you crying? Do you want to go to the hospital?" The tears fell even faster. I cried until I could barely breathe. It scared him, and he fumbled to comfort me. When I finally came to my senses, I wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. He asked, amused, "I never realized you were such a crybaby. Why are you here?" I asked, my voice thick. "Your roommate asked me to take care of you." I mumbled a quiet "oh." Sure enough, I found a message from Danny on my phone. "Open your mouth." I obediently opened my mouth and held the thermometer under my tongue. Vincent took it out and checked the temperature, his expression relaxing. "It's gone down." I took some fever medicine. He picked up the opened packet of stomach medicine and sneered, grinding his back teeth. "Fever medicine? If I'd been a minute later, you would have burned yourself into an idiot." I looked down, guilty. "Thank you." My stomach let out an embarrassing growl. "I'll go get you some kanji," Vincent said, I'll go with you, I said quickly. I've been lying in bed all day. I struggled to sit up, but my limbs felt like jelly, and my fingers had no strength. Vincent saw my predicament, brought me my clothes, and helped me change, whispering, "How did you get so thin?" I didn't hear him clearly. What? He knelt down and put on my socks and shoes for me. I sat on the edge of the bed, embarrassed. "Can you walk on your own?" I nodded confidently, but when my feet touched the floor, my legs gave out, and I pitched forward. I fell into a broad, strong embrace. I could hear the powerful, steady beat of his heart against his chest. Vincent looked down at me. "Scared stiff? Why aren't you moving?" I shook my head and pushed myself up to create some distance. Before we left, Vincent wrapped a scarf around my neck, put a hat on my head, and pulled gloves onto my hands, leaving only my eyes exposed. I blinked at him. Isn't this a little much? This was the first time his concern felt too heavy. Vincent was very satisfied with his work. "It's cold outside," he stated. He reached out and took my hand. Outside, the sky had turned completely dark, and a cold wind was blowing through the streets. Vincent held my hand and walked slowly. I felt like I was soaking in a hot bath, warm all over. He found a small restaurant and ordered clay pot congee and a few light side dishes. There was a small interruption. A girl came over to ask for my number. Before I could say anything, Vincent politely refused for me. Unexpectedly, the girl turned to him. "If he won't give it, can I have yours, handsome?" "No," I blurted out. The girl said "oh" with a knowing look, her eyes darting between us. She smiled. "My mistake. Sorry to bother you." And with that, she left. I opened my mouth, then closed it, saying awkwardly, "I think she misunderstood." "Misunderstood what?" I sighed, not daring to look at him, and explained in a small voice, "She probably thought we were a couple." I stirred the congee in my bowl over and over. Vincent's expression was calm. "Stop stirring. Eat it while it's hot." I nodded. After finishing the congee, I felt some of my strength return. Vincent walked me back to my dorm. I sat there, drowsy, fighting to keep my eyes open as I watched him. One moment boiling water to give me medicine, the next taking my temperature, the next feeding Eve. How could he be so good? The thought that he would one day be this good to someone else made me unconsciously press my hand to my chest. It hurt. Vincent noticed the small movement. "Does your chest hurt again?" he asked. I nodded, then shook my head, feeling miserable. I turned away to hide my face, sniffled, and told him, "Don't be so good to me. I'm afraid I'll start getting ideas again. I was just getting used to a life without you." Vincent laughed, but it was tinged with anger. "John, is it wrong for me to be good to you?" My eyes turned red. "Yes. When you're sick, you become fragile both physically and emotionally." Using my illness as a shield, all my emotions came pouring out. I had nothing left to lose. "Be mean to me. If you're mean to me, I'll stop liking you, and my chest won't hurt anymore. Then we can go back to how things were, and we can be friends again. I've tried so hard not to like you, but I can't. I can't control it. Be mean to me, Vincent. Please." Vincent sighed softly. "John, why are you being so unreasonable?" I glared at him stubbornly, tears streaming down my face against my will. He leaned down. I thought he was going to hit me and squeezed my eyes shut. A gentle kiss landed on my eyelid. I heard Vincent's low, soft voice say, "You always look so pitiful. I could never be mean to you." The kisses were light and warm. I belatedly covered his mouth. "I have a cold. You'll get sick." Vincent clenched his jaw, squeezing the words out through his teeth. "You really know how to kill a mood." I looked at him innocently. When Danny got back from his trip, he burst into the dorm room, full of energy. He saw me taking Vincent's temperature and giving him medicine. "The campus king caught it too?" he whispered. I nodded. Vincent's cold was entirely his own fault. He was so confident in his strong constitution that he insisted on squeezing into the same small bed with me. For two adults whose relationship was brand new, it was inevitable that sparks would fly. My cheeks grew hot. "Hey Vincent, thanks for taking care of John." Danny gave him a thumbs up, handing him a good guy card. Vincent swatted the card away and put on his boyfriend card instead. "No need to thank me," he said lazily. "It's my duty to take care of my boyfriend." He froze, then looked at me in disbelief. You and Vincent are a couple? Since when? Aren't you two straight? I nodded and explained sheepishly, we just got together a couple of days ago. Danny was completely shocked, muttering, well, I'll be damned under his breath. The long weekend ended, and finals week began. The law department was a hyper-competitive pressure cooker, leaving absolutely no time for romance. Vincent was sweet and understanding, saying we should prioritize our studies and put dating on the back burner for a bit. Ugh, my brain is going to explode. I haven't seen Sam in almost a week. That's it, I'm going over there to recharge. Danny let out a pained cry. He had dark circles under his eyes and looked like he was on the verge of a breakdown. He stood up, put on his down jacket and asked, "Wanna come?" I thought about it and sent Vincent a message asking him to dinner. Then I went with Danny to State University. State U and City U were both top schools, just in different fields. The two campuses weren't far apart. When we got there, I spotted Vincent towering over the crowd. I had just raised my hand to wave when I saw another guy run up to him. As we got closer, we realized it was another confession scene. I exchanged an awkward look with Danny and instinctively tried to hide. We were just close enough to hear what they were saying. Vincent said politely, "Sorry, I'm seeing someone." The guy's eyes widened, clearly in disbelief. "Liar. You weren't before." Vincent glanced in my direction. "He's right behind you. Busted." I straightened up awkwardly, jogged over, and stood close to his side, staking my claim. The guy was stunned. Then, as if remembering something, he said, "But you don't like guys." Vincent explained patiently, "I'm not into guys. I'm just into him." My face instantly flushed red. "I'm only into you too," I whispered back. The guy looked like he'd just been force-fed a pound of PDA. He threw out one last line, "Thanks, I'm stuffed," and left. Vincent and I looked at each other and laughed. Another New Year's Eve. Without telling me, Vincent took me to his house. At the door, I nervously tugged on his sleeve, wanting to bail. "Vincent," I pleaded, "it's too soon to meet your parents. Can we do this next time? Please?" Vincent grabbed my hand, leaving no room for argument. "No," he said heartlessly. I glared at him. "Why are you being so mean?" He chuckled. "Weren't you the one who asked me to be meaner to you?" I was about to lose my mind. Just then, the door opened. Vincent's mom's eyes fell on our intertwined hands. On reflex, I yanked my hand away, my face bright red.
Hush, hello, Mom.
"Happy New Year."
John, come.
On in. Vincent's mom welcomed me warmly. My brain short-circuited as I followed her inside in a daze. I had always imagined that someone as good as Vincent must have grown up in a jar filled with love and kindness. And that's why I was able to use my own misery to tie him to my side. As the fireworks went off at midnight, I said, "Happy New Year, Vincent." "Happy New Year, John." I looked up at him and mustered all my courage. "Vincent, do you really like me?" Vincent's eyes narrowed, and he pinched my cheeks. I thought I was being pretty obvious. "I wasn't pitying you. After graduation, I spent the whole summer learning about the gay community. I kept thinking, you're so pitiful, what if you run into a bad person? But I knew I hurt you when I ran away, so I decided to wait. Wait until college. I came to see you in college. You were doing well, you were popular, and I thought maybe you'd forgotten me and wanted to start over. But then you asked another guy for his number right in front of me. He's not as good for you as I am. He doesn't know what you like, what you love to eat. You were jealous? It dawned on me. So that text message wasn't a mistake? Vincent gave my lips a firm peck, a silent admission. It was never about pity, John. It was always love.